In this video, I'm going to show you how to create organic holes in different types of collage papers using 4 different types of tools you probably already own. Hello, my name is Catherine Rains. I'm a mixed media collage artist, and welcome to Tune In Tuesday, where I share weekly art demos to expand your mixed media toolbox. If you see value in my art demos, I would deeply appreciate a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe to my channel below. Links for all the supplies to make this paper is down below under Show More. And you might also want to check out my free 5-day online workshop where I teach you how to use all the collage papers taught during Tune In Tuesday to make fabulous collages the very first try. So let's get into burning our collage papers. So this is where we're headed this week. We are going to make some organic holes in a number of different kinds of papers using 4 different kinds of tools. And we're going to be making holes in many different kinds of papers. So I've got tea bag paper that I've just stamped on. I've got a coffee filter, also been stamped on. This is homemade watercolor paper. And this is actually a failed experiment from Tune In Tuesday. I did this for the water resist paper, didn't like the paper, so I started burning into it. I like the reverse side better. So just going to show you how you can make holes with hopefully tools you already have in your home or that are easily accessible. So I've put it down a piece of tile just so that I don't burn anything, because I realized that it's very easy to burn right through my table using this, so this was not burnable. So I'm going to take a coffee stirrer and I'm going to light it up. I find it's easier to light up with a flame. So I get a little bit of flame on there. So you just want to make sure you get a little bit of an ember there, and then you just poke it in to the tea bag and it starts to create a hole. If you can see that there's a little bit of ember going on there, it burns out fairly quickly, but I can create all kinds of designs. As long as there's a little ember on here, I can create some designs on here. And because the tea bag paper is so transparent, when I lay this down on a collage paper, it's basically going to melt into the paper. It's just going to add a really interesting texture to it. And I will be doing a series of collages using the 5 last papers, and this paper is number 5. So let's try the same tool with a piece of coffee filter. So again, I'm going to just light this up so I get a flame again. Let it burn a little bit. I'm going to shake it out, blow it out until I have a little bit of an ember on there. And then I just poke it on here. Now, these wooden sticks work best on these very kind of thin papers. They don't work as well on full-fledged like copy paper, the homemade watercolor paper. So I've got a nice hole. Now, oh, there's still an ember there. So I could actually just keep holding the coffee stick next to the paper, and I can get a larger hole if I want, or I can just get little teeny holes, but the ember is out. Let's move to a skewer. This is a wooden skewer that you can get in the grocery store. And again, I'm just going to light this up. Now I leave it in the flame a little bit just because I need to get it to actually burn. So once I get a little flame there, I'm gonna let it burn just for a second because I need some embers on the stick. Okay, it's kind of blown itself out, but I still got a little red at the end, and I just stick it right in there and get a little tiny hole, if you can see that, which I think is actually pretty cool. Having a very skinny skewer gives me a little tiny hole, which I like, but this is out. In order to use it, I have to keep dipping it in the fire, let that burn a little bit so that I get some embers, blew itself out, and again, I just start poking little holes in it. And I kind of like the little tiny holes a lot. Now this is already blown out. So let me move on to an incense stick. Now this one works really, really well. So if you have any incense sitting around the house, I highly recommend this method. So incense works really well because once it's lit, it won't go out like the coffee stirrer or the skewer. So I lit this back up. I'm gonna just light up my incense. So I got some flame on here. I'll let the flame go out. But the nice thing about the incense stick is that it will keep giving me a burn here. So I can just stick it in. Ooh, and it goes really fast. Gives me a little bit of a residue. And if I leave this in there a longer time, it will actually get bigger. And I can control this either by dassing it with my finger, just like dapping it, or I can also just take a damp sponge and just damping it off. And that's pretty cool. Actually, I'm really liking the look of this. But I don't really need to put more embers on here, because once this is lit, it actually works pretty good. Although, here it goes. So I can make a really big hole just by holding it in there longer. Now, nice thing about this is now my studio smells great. The bad thing about this is the smoke is going right into my face. So this one is just getting bigger and bigger. So I can, again, just tap it really lightly. That doesn't hurt my hand. I can also just, well, because this is a, get the embers off of there. I love that, but I'm just gonna keep going because why not? So that I've got a nice kind of a whole piece full of holes. Really cool thing about using an incense stick is that it doesn't go out. So when I'm using the wooden skewer or the coffee skewer, it's constantly going out. It's not meant to burn long term. This one will just keep burning until I actually put it in water. So now I've got some really interesting, beautiful holes in this, which will make a beautiful piece of collage fodder as part of the series that I'm going to be making. And this was made with all three of these tools: a piece of incense, a wooden skewer, and also a coffee stirrer. So these will work on pieces of collage fodder that I don't like as much. They're harder though, because it takes a lot of time to hold the flame to get this thicker paper. Let me show you a surefire way of getting holes in thicker papers. So a tool that works amazing is this wood burner tool. So this is fueled with electricity. I did let this heat up, maybe like 10 minutes. So having it fully heated is the key. This is a very inexpensive tool and it works on everything. So let me show you how this works. So these tools come with, usually they come with 3 or 4 different nibs. I find them very hard to get off, so I just use the one that it comes with. This is kind of a triangular nib. So all you do is you just lightly tap it on to the paper and instantly you get like a flame. When you see this, there's a little bit of a flame around it. The longer I hold this, the bigger that hole is going to get. So I can pretty much shape it any way I want by just holding this against the paper. Or I can make little teeny holes like that. Now that because this is a triangular shape, in order to get a circle, like that's actually a triangle because it's being shaped by this tool. But I can get more of a circle just by twirling it around a bit. So I am going to fill up this whole page with little holes. And because this particular piece of collage paper is in my color palette, this is phthalo blue green shade and Hansa yellow light with a little white mixed in. This will go with the other papers that I have already made in other techniques, but this will add a new dimension to it. Now, the interesting thing about using this wood burner tool is if I put my little thing in here and I just let it burn, it keeps burning. So this hole keeps getting bigger. Now it'll eventually burn out, but I can also just take a wet sponge and just douse it at the point that I like the size of the hole. And when you're done, you put it in a little holder so that you don't burn yourself, which by the way, you have to be careful as you're doing this because, I mean, this is a very hot implement, not to be used around children. The cool thing is look at the back sheet. You know, the back, this was my water resist technique. I didn't like it at all. But now I'm actually thinking that has potential for a piece of collage fodder. So I lay this on top of another piece of paper and these little holes will show the paper underneath it. So who knows? I actually have 2 possibilities here for a nice piece of collage fodder. So now I've made 3 different kinds of hold paper, teabag paper, coffee filter, and just used old collage fodder that I didn't like. And there's so many possibilities for what you could do with this. You know, I could, again, use my homemade watercolor paper and make holes in it. I could use some old collages. These are just old pieces. Now, these are going to be harder to burn. You would definitely want to use the wood burner tool for this, not a coffee stirrer. This would be really hard to burn this. You know, look around your studio. What is it that you think would look better with a little bit of holes in it? Like, isn't that pretty? Like if I actually laid this on top of that, that'd be pretty. And the coffee filter will actually be somewhat translucent. So thank you for joining me for another Tune In Tuesday. And I will see you back here next week for another art demo. To learn how to make many more types of collage papers, check out the links that are about to appear right here. And be sure to check out my free 5-day online class, Collage Kickstart. The link to sign up is under Show More below. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would be deeply grateful if you would. I will see you next week for Tune In Tuesday.